Classpad.net how-to. In this clip, we'll be working with some of the most common list commands that will allow you to work some basic statistical manipulations in the Calculate sticky. To begin with, we'll just create a list. You can name them however you wish. I'm going to call this list 1, but you could call it my list or whatever. And I'm going to assign values using the := symbol. And to make it a list, you use the curly braces that you see here. So I'm just going to put in a bunch of values. We'll pretend that what I've done is pulled a group of 18 students about how many siblings they had. So let me stretch the window open just so we can see that a little better. So we have 18 results. And again, you can call that list whatever you wish. Some of the things we can do with a list is we can sort ascending, or we can sort descending. Other commands that you might wish to use: min, max, and we can use mean, median, mode, all of those. You may have seen on a previous video that we can use this switch to toggle from standard to decimal mode. In fact, if you wish, another thing you can do is you can find the quartile values this way. Q1 and Q3 can be computed just using a command like that. Also, standard deviation. We can find the dimension of a list, the sum of a list, and the product of all the values in the list. Yeah, not very interesting since we had a 0 in there. I wasn't really thinking. Another couple things. As I said, we can call a list whatever we wish, so I'll just make up a couple here. So list A, list B. A couple other things you can do. For instance, I could take list A plus list B, and you'll see what happens. It's just going to add the first terms, the second terms, the third terms, etc. I could even take list A and square it, which is going to multiply the first term by the first term, the second by the second. You can get a little creative. I could start with, let's say, list A. I'll just hit enter to sort of enter it into memory. Some teachers will recognize this, a method of sort of recursively doing some sort of a function. If I type plus list A, what will happen is it'll take the previous answer plus list A. So I hit enter to add it to itself. And then every time I hit enter, it'll keep adding 1, 2, 3, and 4, and keep adding 1, 2, 3, and 4, etc. So you can do it that way. It works for multiplication, etc. And one last thing, I want to show you the sequence command. This is kind of helpful. You can actually say, let's fill a list with, let's say, a sequence x squared. I want to follow that pattern, and as x goes from 1 to 10, and if you want to default to a step of 1, then you just leave it alone. If I want to do a step of 2, I would write it like that. But now I want just a step of 1, so I can just close it there. And so what it'll do is, following the pattern of x squared, it'll put in a 1. So 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared. So let's try it a little different. Let's do 3x minus 1, minus 1, as x goes from 2 to 20 by 2's. So again, we start with 2, plug in a 2, 3 times 2 minus 1, 3 times 4 minus 1, etc., etc. So you generate a sequence following that pattern, and that you may find useful as well. So that's enough for our brief look at some more features with lists in Calculate, and thanks for joining us. Please check us out on social media.